Hi, John.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us here at the LA Times Festival of Books.
It's great to be here.
You have written a bunch of books, and I understand you have a new one coming out. What is it?
It's called The Human Division. It comes out on May 14th, and it is the fifth book in the Old Man's War series. And it is also kind of an interesting project because before the hardcover came out, we serialized it electronically, one episode, as we called them, a week from January until actually just a couple of weeks ago here in April. And that was a very interesting project to do, and it was kind of exciting to see how people would respond to it. And so far the response has been very good.
I saw an advance of the book, and it looks like it's bigger than 13 episodes.
Yes, it's actually the longest book I've written. It's about 140,000 words, and most of the Old Man's War books are around 100,000 or so. And it's because the individual episodes all needed to be an average about 10,000 words long. And so when you read the individual stories, it just seems like you're flipping through it very quickly. But if you stack them all up together, as we do, in the compiled book, you realize that's a whole lot of words. And it was funny for me because when people were reading it electronically, they were saying, "Wow, it just seems to move so fast. It seems like it's smaller than some of your other books." I'm like, no, it's almost it's 2/3 as long as Red Shirts, which was the book that came out last year.
Which is what I thought I was going to ask you about.
You can ask me about that too.
Well, actually, I'm really curious about the project. Did you? It sounds like you conceived of it in advance. It's not, and you didn't just take a book and chop it up and then put those sections online.
No, the whole point of it was we wanted to do. Tor and I had been wanting to do something serialized electronically for a while. But the real question was, do you want to do it where you just take a book that you've written for print and then chop it up? Or do you want to actually start on the ground floor and build a narrative and build a story that is native to digital, that takes advantage of the strengths of digital now and make it something kind of new and exciting? So it's not just cliffhangers at the end of every episode. You make each individual episode its own story. So if you read episode 7 or read episode 9, you would get a full story that you would be able to follow. But if you put them all together, then you see the longer narrative arc. It's a little bit like TV. I mean, in the sense that if you watch an episode of Law and Order, you get a full serving of a Law and Orderness. But if you've watched for a season, then you see that there are some longer narrative arcs. Same sort of concept we were trying here. And that was the one thing we thought separated what we were doing from just the Amazon serials or the other serializations that people are doing online.
And some people, and there's no DRM with Tor.
There's no DRM. We really believe that the vast majority of people are not pirates. They have no interest in putting things on torrents. What they have an interest in is making sure that if they have a book that is on a Kindle and one day they want to put it on a Nook, that they can do that and nobody cares. And so that's what we believe.
So if somebody has read all 13 episodes electronically, is that the complete book?
There, in the hardcover, there are a couple of additional stories. One is an earlier story in the Old Man's War universe called After the Coup, which is already online, so anybody could go find that. Then there is an additional shorter story that we put exclusive to the hardcover. And this was a little bit of an argument for people. It's like, we just bought the whole thing online and now you're saying there's something that we don't have. And what we had to reassure people is that we put it in the hardcover as an exclusive for a very short period of time, and then we're going to make it available online so that people will not have to buy the book as well as the serialized chapters, because that would be wrong.
So we've been asking people a couple of different questions, and I know that, so one of them is, have you had an extraordinary book tour experience that you would care to share with us?
Oh boy, an extraordinary book tour experience. I think the most extraordinary book tour experience I had was in Boston on the last tour for the Red Shirts tour. In addition to writing the book, I commissioned a song called Red Shirt by Jonathan Colton, who is a big geek musician. And I told people that on the tour that if you bring me a ukulele, I will sing the song for you. So every stop, everybody bring me a ukulele. And Boston was one of the last stops. And by that time, a lot of people had heard the song. Jonathan Colton was on a tour, he played the song. And so while I was singing the song, the entire audience at the Boston Co-op, which was like 200 people, are singing along with me, you know, to this song. And I'm like, this is genuinely what it feels like to be a rock star. Because you're singing this song, and it's a song that's important to you because it's a song about my book. And everybody knows the words. The only thing that was missing were people like holding up the lighters and stuff like that, which would have been a bad idea in a bookstore.
Right.
But so that was actually really kind of cool. My friend Joe Hill, who's also a writer, was there with me, and he's like, I've never seen anything like that at a bookstore event ever before. And I'm like, there you go. That's life in the red shirts lane.
That's fantastic. And then one last thing, do you have a favorite author from Los Angeles? Not that that's your favorite author of all time, but I know that there's been some...
That's an interesting question. I think the one who might qualify is Mark Halpern. He's not originally from Los Angeles, but he's associated with the Claremont colleges in some way. And Winter's Tale, which is his fantasy book, is possibly my all-time favorite book. It was a book that I had to read like 8 times to finish, because I would get halfway through the book and I'm like, I'm now halfway through this book, I will not, you know, soon it will end. And so I would end up putting the book down. Because
you wanted to savor it. Because I
didn't want the book to end. It was literally, so it took me that long to read it. And then when I had gotten all the way to the end finally, I was like, wait a minute, what was I thinking all this time? I could just reread it. So, so I'd say that he would be the one that qualifies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So glad to be here.